My name's Tom Bauer. I'm the chairman of the banquet here for the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame. In this banquet, I'd like to welcome everyone. Our 2021 banquet. This is now our 51st banquet. And it's been a long time coming. First with a postponement, and then with a cancellation, and then with other postponements. But I promised all these inductees here we'd get it done, and here we are. This promises to be an outstanding night as we honor some of Lorraine's finest athletes and coaches. First, a quick announcement. The bar will be closed during all presentations, but it will reopen during dinner to refill. And after all the presentations are done, there's always a lot of socializing that goes on after, post-banquet, they'll open back up again. So plan your drinking accordingly. Second, if you would please, silence all cell phones, put them on vibrate at least. Hate to see someone get ringed out while they're giving their acceptance speech. And now I'd like to bring Cliff German to the podium just for a special announcement.
Thank you, Tom. Ladies and gentlemen, last week, Ohio lost one of its own when 22-year-old Navy Fleet Marine Force Admiral Hospital Corpsman Max Soviak was killed by a suicide bomber blast at the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. Max was a native of Berlin Heights and a 2017 graduate of Milan Edison High School right down the road. A multi-sport high school athlete who also played in the band, Max proudly served his country while deployed, and he died an American hero, working to save the lives of those seeking to escape imminent danger. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame organization asks you join in a moment of silence for the loss of Max Soviak, while also saying prayers and sympathies for his family, 12 brothers and sisters, his friends, and remembering the other soldiers and civilians who were killed or injured in last week's horrific tragedy in Afghanistan. Ladies and gentlemen, a moment of silence, please. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I ask you all to please stand and to join in the singing of our national anthem. job. Thank you all, and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Cliff. First, I'd like to introduce some of our guests tonight that will be speaking at the podium, just so you recognize them. First, sitting at a special table is Jim Turton with his wife Evelyn. And our MCs for tonight are Tim Alcorn and everyone's favorite, Jim Allen Poppio. And I just found out this summer, all you Admiral King people, it's Senor Poppio. And representing the city of Lorain, Sanford, Washington. Sanford, would you please come up and say a few words?
Good evening, everyone. I've been told I need to be good, for those of you who know me. On behalf of Mayor Jack Bradley and the administration of the City of Lorain, I would like to thank the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame for this invitation. This organization has been a staple in our city, recognizing great athletes along with their contributions to their teams, their schools, and ultimately their community. I would like to personally congratulate each of the athletes that are being recognized here today for their personal contributions to the sport they enjoyed, their families, teammates, and coaches who supported them, and our community for recognizing them. On a personal note, I have been able to witness the work that the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame conducts due to the involvement of our sons. Each of my sons have been recognized by this organization either through their team or their individual personal accolades. Those are proud moments, like this certainly is, that coaches, teammates, parents, and athletes get to enjoy and remember for a lifetime. Here's my words. As a former member of a Big Ten team that I will not mention, a Hall of Fame coach embraced a phrase and had every team member commit this to memory. The words were, "Those who stay will be champions." It was a battle cry to stay in the fight no matter what you believe the outcome would be. Be loyal to the teammates who are competing alongside of you, and never give up, and always give the best effort that you had when called upon. Those are the words that supply the grit to stay when others leave and to finish the race when others give up. This evening, we are all here to say to those athletes who are being recognized for their individual talents, thank you for staying the course and being competitors to the end. Continue to lead by example to your friends, family, and our community. And may the good Lord continue to bless you in your endeavors as you make Lorraine proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanford. I wonder if everyone out there knows that Big Ten team was Michigan.
Why do you quote Woody then? Why do you quote Woody?
Last month, a few of our members were invited to the Illyria's Sports Hall of Fame, and it was a tremendous ceremony. Tonight, some of their members are our guests. I'd like to introduce Wilbur Lewis, Sean Bennett, Tim Gilbart. Now, Tim's on a working vacation. He's the Chronicle reporter that's going to be covering us tonight. Thank you, gentlemen. And if there's any past inductees out there in the audience, because we've had 387 inductees in our 51 years. And we've also had 38 teams inducted. So if there's anybody out there who is a past inductee, individually or with a team, could you please stand up? Thank you. This is what it's all about. The Lorain Sports Hall of Fame was founded to honor those Lorain residents whose names are synonymous with all the best in athletic achievement from the outstanding sports heritage in this, the international city, Lorain. And what I'd like to do now is introduce our current 2021 inductees and their guests. First, I have Brad Baumert and his wife Kathy, Lorraine Sr., a sailor. And next, Angie Caffarel and her mother Paula, a Lorain Catholic girl who played both volleyball and basketball. And next, Vince Villanucci and his mother Patricia, also Lorain High School, wrestling and football. On that side of my other side is Mary Lou Redman, Poli, and her husband Robert, also Lorain Catholic, and a bowling. And now we have Lisa Lindberg and her father Tom, Admiral King, also volleyball and basketball. Sitting representing the team is Hall of Fame coach Frank Hicks and team player Dale Andorka. Up here to my right, I have Otis Jenkins and his wife Sherry. Otis was a three-sport all-star, basketball, football, and track. Next Otis is Karen Boyle and her very first coach, Nancy Demansky Bauer. Karen was from Lorain High, and she was just a multi-star superstar. And on my left, William Reagan, his wife Liz, St. Mary's and Lorain Catholic, basketball, football, and eventually coaching. Thank you very much. And now for a little special treat, I'd like to bring Cliff back to the podium.
We have a gentleman here this evening that has a birthday. And they asked me to sing happy birthday, but we've got someone else very special that's going to do that. Brian, you have that cake? Yeah. Brian, we'll bring it out here. We've got a cake for Jim Turton, our president, and I won't tell you how old he is because he is old. Are you trying to rub two sticks together back there, Brian, or what are we doing here? There he comes. He's got it coming now. And while he's doing that, let's go ahead and have someone very, very special sing Happy Birthday to Jim Turton.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President.
And he is our president.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. birthday, Jim Turton. Now, there is a much longer version of that happy birthday song, but this is a family establishment. So we're going to stop right there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to German's Villa, and I hope you're going to enjoy your meal this evening. You've got salads at your place setting. You've got your coconut cream pie already there, so go ahead and start on your salad. I'm going to be coming around as you complete your salads and ask you to go up to the buffet line. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your wonderful evening here at the 51st Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff. A little later in the program, Tim Alcorn is going to introduce Otis Jenkins as probably the greatest male track star ever in Lorain County. But right now, I'm going to introduce Reverend Jenkins to give our benediction and grace.
Let's keep in mind our young men and women that were unfortunately killed the other day over in Afghanistan. And I stand here today with that thought on my mind to pray for the family, because we never know when this could come our way. Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, I come today, Lord, because you have spared this moment, that I may stand here in front of your people and ask you for your blessing. And I ask you now, if you would continue to bless this event. I thank you for the opportunity that you have allowed in my life to be a minister of God, to stand here to pray for those families of their bereavement, in remembrance of them. And Lord, when it's all over with, said and done, we're going to still give you the praise, we're going to still give you the glory, and we're going to still give you the honor, because you are worthy to be praised. And I ask you to bless this food, bless those that prepared it, bless us as receivers, and this we'll be more grateful for. This we pray in the name of Jesus. Amen, and thank God. Amen.
Thanks, Otis. Cliff, you just want me to tell him, let's eat?
Okay, I'll be coming around after we go up to the buffet line.
And Cliff will be coming around, sending the tables up to the buffet lines. We have one on our left, we have one on our right. Let Cliff direct the tables. right, ladies and gentlemen. First order of the day, to give Cliff and his staff a great big round of applause. Because they earned it. The meal was great and the service was better. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, German Villa. Members of the great Admiral King 1985-86 basketball team would like to honor one of their fallen teammates. LeBron Gladden passed away last year. At his celebration of life, they and his wife Tina made a decision to donate his Hall of Fame jacket back to us so we could display it with honor in our museum. Now let's take a minute to watch the videos and just to remember LeBron. That was LeBron. And if you've seen the end of the slideshow, and you've seen how his team members honored him, and if you remember the one scene, they were at the cemetery for one of their other fallen brothers, Derek Thomas, and that's the way they treat their old teammates. Now I'd like to have their teammates come up and do the presentation. Could you please say something?
First, I'd like to start by saying thank you for having us. It's a pleasure. Thank you to the Hoff. To be here celebrating LeBron with his family and a few of his teammates. All of us couldn't make it. By the way, my name's Tyrone Jeter. This is Mr. George McCall. It's a pleasure to be here on this stage to have some conversation and to be able to celebrate him. LeBron was a great person. He had a very charismatic attitude, and it's really hard to describe him if you really didn't know him. He was always, making jokes and doing stuff. He one who kept the team together. So when we would be out playing as hard as we could, he would bring us back together when we would, if you know anything about Admiral King basketball, sometimes we would play a little bit physical. So he was the cause of that most of the time. So thanks again, sir, for having us. The memorabilia that you'd like to share with the folks. I also told Mr. Bowers if he continues to let us have memorabilia this big, that they'll have problems. So in the future, if you guys have anyone else that passes away, hopefully you guys will have some parameters on how big you want that thing. But for our brother, we wanted it extra life size. So thanks again. God bless you guys, and continue. And by the way, congratulations to all the inductees.
Tyrone, thank you very much. Tina, thank you very much. We will display this in a museum with honor. We'll put it in a place where first people in the museum will see it and understand what kind of a great team and teammates you were in '85, '86. But I'm going to put a little plaque. I'm going to put a little plaque on this jacket, because I think this plaque will say it all. LeBron Gladden, oldest brother of one of the greatest basketball families in the history of Lorain sports, along with his brothers, Jamie and Byron. And now I'd like to bring up to the podium our president, Jim Turton, who has another special presentation.
Good evening, and thank you for coming. On September 4th, 1941, 80 years ago to this day, I had the good fortune to be born in the little city by the lake, Lorain, Ohio. Lorain produced its share of accomplished people. Among them is outstanding educators, such as my teammate Frank Flisco, who was a professor at that university up north and was one of the most prominent metallurgists and chemists in the country. Also, public servants. My good friend for years, Ronnie Nabokowski, who was a Lorain auditor, Ohio lottery director, who brought the lottery in Ohio up to the great standards that it shares today, state senator, a Lorain County clerk. And we also produce people in the arts, such as Helen Steiner Rice, Toni Morrison, and more than our share of great athletes, coaches, and teams. Tonight, we are honoring 8 all-time great athletes, 2 accomplished coaches, and 1 team whose performance places it among the best of the best. Before we move on, this has been a kind of a solemn night. I would also like to mention that we had lost members of the Hall of Fame and our committee members and the past presidents, 12 of them, who are inductees and enshrinees, 2 past presidents and 2 former committee members. Can we have a little silence for them as I read their names? George R. Simonovich, Thomas Irving Gilbert, Ronnie Harris, Robert D. Lasicki, Christopher E. Cowie, Pastor Raymond Slater Martin Jr., Dave Thomas, Walter Broad Waite, Dr. Fleming J. Mosley III, Chuck Boomer Bryant, Steve R. Zavozik, Russell D. Provenza, LeBron Gladden Jr., Joe Tate, Edward S. Dohanis, and William Bill Rufo. Can we just have a couple minutes of silence? Thank you. This is our 51st Enshrinement Banquet. And the one most important thing that I make this event possible is the hard work of our committee. So I would like for our committee members just to stand up and be recognized. Could you please stand up, Hall of Fame committee members? Thank you. Thank you, committee. Like in sports and in life in general, there are individuals who go far and above that which is required and expected of them. In our first 50 years, there have been 2 individuals who have been recognized for their distinguished service, both for the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame and in our community. Those people are number 1, Bandy Dillon in 2015, and Jaden Morales in 2019. Both of you, could you please stand up and be recognized? And Jaden's right back there. And starting our second 50 years, we would like to present our third Distinguished Service Award. This recipient has been a Hall of Fame committee member since 1995. And in his 26 years of service, he has been our historian, explainer of the Constitution and bylaws, caretaker of our museum, a leader on our screening committee for new members, also a nominee committee for our new enshrinees. He takes care of all ticket sales for every year that I can remember. You get the idea. I could go on and mention the many contributions and value he is to this organization. Well, that being said, Ronald Feldkamp, would you please come forward to accept your Distinguished Service Award? Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
There you go. I'll put that right here. You can take it with you.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, thank you. What an honor. Thank you, Hall of Fame Committee, President Jim Turton, Chairman Tom Bauer, for this award. Giving back to the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame for the past 26 years has been an incredible and rewarding experience. As many of you know, I am an avid, some say intense, Lorraine, Cleveland, and Ohio sports fan. From player to coach to fan, sports have been a big part of my life. As a lifetime Lorraine resident, the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame has allowed me to give back to the community that I love. Although there were many highlights over the years, here's what was meant the most. Learning about the sports history in our community and working to see our local athletes and teams be recognized for their accomplishments. Lorraine has given birth to many successful athletes, and honoring their individual stories is what this is all about. I believe these stories help to inspire the next generation of athletes, and the Hall of Fame is able to recognize our top high school scholar athletes with the J. Ed Yulin Award and scholarships. Honoring these students and athletes and supporting their future is very rewarding. Another key highlight for me has been the fundraising and planning of our annual banquets, golf outings, and steak fries. These fundraising efforts have allowed us to invest back into the community, including the opening of our Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame Museum, of which we are very proud. My most rewarding experience has been working alongside these other members of the Hall of Fame who share the same passion and energy for Lorraine sports. This is a team effort, and I'm grateful to be part of this team. I'd also like to encourage the next generation of community leaders here to get engaged and help us carry this torch forward. Thank you again for the recognition. I look forward to continuing to give back to the community through the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame. As my favorite Browns coach of all time, Blanton Collier, once said, you can accomplish a lot if you don't, you can accomplish a lot if you don't care who gets the credit. However, tonight is not all about me. We're here to honor these incredible athletes. It's time to put the spotlight where it belongs by honoring our new inductees and giving them the credit that they deserve. So let's get on with the show.
Don't you take my notes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got mine.
No, I know. I've seasoned you.
I got it.
You got it? Ronnie, Bambi, and Jaden, this plaque will be in our museum, and it'll be hanging up there for another 51 years at least. There is 9 more spaces, so if anybody out there wants to be one of the people to fill some of these spots, you're more than welcome to join us. Now, I'd like to bring to the podium James Allen Poppio, who's going to talk about our 2021 Yulin Award and our All-State Award winners. Jimmy?
Good evening, everyone. I'm also a 1941 baby. In fact, Jim and I are cousins. He's about 90 days younger than I am, and from what I hear, everybody says he looks about 90 years younger than I am, too, so. But it must have been a good year. Well, it was a good year for many of our young people for the city of Lorain, and it's always my pleasure to talk about them. Normally, when this banquet is held in May, our high school honorees are present, but with most of these outstanding young people already off to college or the military, we would at least like to recognize their accomplishments. Since we did not have a banquet last year nor this spring, we would like to start by honoring those who made All-Ohio during the 2019-2020 school year. From Lorain High in football, Tyshawn Lighty was second-team All-State Division I defensive back. And Tyshawn had a very good reason for not being here, because he and his Notre Dame Falcons football team made their debut this afternoon. From Clearview in football, Stacy Littlejohn, first-team All-State Division IV defensive line. Jordan Reed was second-team defensive back. Joseph Norris, second-team All-Purpose. C.J. Fleming, third-team receiver. From the 2020 football season, Mason Argenti of Clearview was third-team All-State punter. From the 2021 basketball season, Brooke Redman of Clearview, first-team All-State girls basketball. Seth Wilson, Lorain High, third-team Division I boys basketball. And from 2021 track, Micaiah Herman of Lorain High, eighth in the Division I state meet in the 100 meters. We also had plenty of good news this past year on the collegiate scene. Lorain High's Naz Bohannon, a former J.Ed Yulin winner, was second-team All-Horizon Conference at Youngstown State, where he just finished his 4-year career as the school's all-time leading Division I rebounder with 1,040 and scored 1,233 points. Naz will be playing his 5th year of college ball at Clemson. Lorraine's Day-Day Grant was third-team All-Mid-American Conference as just a sophomore this past season at Miami of Ohio. Clearview's Drew Engel, a former J.Ed Yulin winner, started his Capital University football career this past Thursday by scoring 2 touchdowns. And we have plenty more from Lorain High and Clearview that are underway with the collegiate football season. At the pros, Clearview's Anthony Hitchens is starting his 8th year of NFL football with the Kansas City Chiefs. And Lorain High's Thomas Wimbush is in his 5th season of pro basketball. This year he'll be playing in France. And I'd like to tell you about a very unique accomplishment in sandlot baseball this summer. Matt Roselle, now a junior at Lorain High, and Silas Tyler, now a senior for the Titans, did something virtually unheard of at any level of baseball for one team. Roselle and Tyler both struck out the first 12 batters they faced in wins for the Lorain Nationals on back-to-back playing dates, and not against the same team. Roselle against Akron Ellet, Tyler against the third-place team in the state hot stove tournament, the North Ridgeville Gladiators. Now, it's hard enough to have 4 straight innings of perfect baseball, but to strike out every batter, like I said, and for the same team, 2 people against different teams, that is quite unusual. Lorraine Nationals, by the way, finished 2nd in the state tournament. Now for the J.N. Yulin Scholarship Award winners. Every year, the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame is proud to honor outstanding seniors from Lorraine High and Clearview for their academic and athletic accomplishments, plus leadership. For 2020, all 4 received 750 stipends. They are from Clearview: Chase Christensen, who played football and basketball, and Madeline Love, who played volleyball and track for the Clippers. From Lorraine High last year, Talia Harris, who played volleyball and softball, and Joseph Vaughn, who participated in track and football. The nominees for this past year, the current year, 2021, from Lorraine High: Jameer Billings, who played basketball for the Titans and is on the College of Worcester men's basketball team. Micaiah Herman, who played girls basketball and ran track. Micaiah is a student at Ohio State and may go out for track. We certainly hope so. From Clearview, Hiram Carreras, who participated in football and track. Hiram's playing football at Madonna College in Michigan. And Elizabeth Allen, who played softball and volleyball. Elizabeth is playing softball at Muskingum. And this year we had the individual winners. The best male was Hiram Carreras of Clearview, and the best female was Micaiah Herman of Lorraine High. And so we're always proud and happy to honor the younger people who are the future Lorraine Sports Hall of Famers, and so glad to have them. So glad to have all of you too. And we of course keep up with all the collegians too. We spoke about some on our radio shows on WDLW and WOBL, and you can find the show times in one of the little ads at the back of the program tonight. So again, thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Tonight, as you see the inductees getting their plaques, you also see the gift the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame presents to them. This jacket and shirt with our logo, and I hope they wear them, and I hope they wear them proud. Now, as Tim Alcorn comes up and introduces all our inductees, you'll watch the screen because a lot of people wanted to congratulate these inductees, so they sent me a video just to say congratulations. So, inductees and guests, please watch the videos as the inductees are receiving their plaques. Tim, could you step to the podium, please?
Thank you, Tom. It is great to be back. The last time we did this was in May of 2019, and who would have ever thought that on that night we would reconvene on Labor Day weekend of 2021, but it has been well worth the wait, and congratulations to the class of 2021 as they sit here before us and get ready to receive their honor. I think everybody here kind of knows who I am, right? They're just saying Tim Alcorn. So I had the unbelievable privilege of emceeing this banquet for many, many years as I worked at AM 930 WEOL. And then shortly after the last banquet in May of 2019, actually 2 years ago this month, my life got turned upside down when I was named the radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it's, no. So it's interesting because when I'm at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse calling Cavalier games, I sit in the Joe Tate perch. And it is the honor of my life and I'm incredibly blessed to sit in Joe's chair. And of course, we all know that not only was Joe Tate the voice of the Cavaliers, and also for many years the voice of the Cleveland Indians, Joe was the voice of the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. He loved this banquet. He loved being the MC. He loved hearing the stories and the accomplishments, because Joe, in his heart and in his soul, was really, as I said when he passed back in March, he really was an average Joe. He loved high school sports. He loved high school athletics. So I know Joe is looking down tonight, enjoying this banquet. For the last several years when I emceed it, he would, without fail, call me the afternoon of the banquet. Timothy, you tell the folks in Lorain I said hello. So I keep Joe in my heart and in my thoughts tonight, and as I do in the Joe Tate Perch, I'll do my very best to do what he did so very, very well at the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. And speaking of iconic broadcasters, it's an honor to follow Jim Allen, certainly a treasure in the city of Lorain, and of course, one of those broadcasters who has made such an indelible mark as far as keeping kids and keeping coaches and keeping athletes, not only here in the city of Lorain, but throughout Lorain County, at the center of attention. Jim, you have been absolutely magnificent in all the years that you have been covering high school sports, and not just high school, but middle school and Sandlot and everything that you've done for the kids and the interviews. So I salute you. You have done an amazing, amazing job, Jim. So we're going to have some fun tonight. There's going to be some laughs, there's going to be some tears, there's going to be some great stories, but the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame is one of the things that I look forward to the most on my calendar. Now, for all the years that I was at WEOL, I never took sides. I played it right down the middle as far as Lorain, Elyria. I MC the Elyria Sports Hall of Fame banquet every year. I'm now honored to do the same here in Lorain. But I have to tell the fine folks from the Elyria Sports Hall of Fame that are here tonight, Lorain has outdone you this evening, because not only are we all enjoying the festivities here at German's, and we're all going to certainly appreciate and enjoy the remarks that we'll hear from our inductees. Folks and inductees, keep this in mind. We're going out worldwide tonight because we are being streamed live on video on WLCS TV 20 Lorain City Schools YouTube channel. So no matter where anyone is in the country and the world tonight, they can watch us right now. So if you've got somebody you need to text to say, hey, you can watch this right now. It's on YouTube, WLCS TV 20, Lorain City Schools Television. So Elyria next year, you know, if Lorain can go worldwide with video, come on, Wilbur, it's on you. See if you can make that happen. And Sean Bennett, who will be the president for the Elyria Sports Hall of Fame next year. So that's very cool, a worldwide stream. So Joe Bach, at least while I'm up here, zoom out. Zoom way out. So what do you say we get the festivities started and let's honor this unbelievable class here tonight? You want to do that? You want to get it rolling? All right. So ladies and gentlemen, it's that time in the program when the Hall of Fame Committee proudly inducts the class of 2021 into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. Tonight we induct 10 athletes whose achievements have earned them recognition, and one team who brought fame to their school's tennis program. All of tonight's inductees were nominated by the general public. And with that said, if any of you believe that there are individuals or teams who deserve consideration for future induction into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame, please obtain and submit a nominating application to the Hall of Fame committee. Applications are available at the Hall of Fame Museum, which is at Lorain High. And if you haven't seen it, it is absolutely stunning. And you can also go on the Hall of Fame website, LorraineSportsHallOfFame.com. Again, one more time, the website, LorraineSportsHallOfFame.com. So again, we encourage you that if you think there is somebody or a team that deserves to be honored, such as this group is tonight, get that application and submit a nomination form. And speaking of encouraging you, I encourage you to read the complete achievements of each inductee, which can be found in their biographies in your respective programs, because my introduction remarks, like the speeches of the inductees, will be condensed and relatively brief. Everybody heard that, right? Brief. Yeah, Jerry Evans isn't here tonight, is he? Okay, because we'd get home by Labor Day if Jerry was here tonight. And by the way, Joe Bach, I'm glad you went with the live stream this year rather than 2 years ago, because Ricky Keelis would have cost you your FCC license, I know that. So here we go, leading off tonight's outstanding group of inductees is Brad Bulmert, Lorain High, 1977. Brad is only the third competitive sailor ever to be inducted into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame during its existence. He began sailing as a toddler on his parents' boat, but became serious with his own boat at the age of 14. He went on to race both with and against top sailors from all around the world. Being named U.S. Sailing Sailor of the Week was only one of Brad's many accomplishments. Brad raced in multiple world, national, regional, and local regattas. He was invited to the Champion of Champions races, where only an elite few from around the world are allowed to enter. He spent most of his winters in Miami so he could race all year round. That's a wise decision. From the latest induction into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame from the class of 1977, let's welcome Brad Bulmert, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Brad. Paul Kayard here, Executive Director of USA Olympic Sailing. I just want to be amongst the first to congratulate you on your induction into the Lorain Hall of Fame. After a long career sailing stars and many other elite classes, this is a well-deserved award. So enjoy the evening. Welcome to the Hall of Fame with my good buddy Phil Trenter, and see you soon.
Thank you very much. First off, I'm elated to be here with all the athletes. Sailboat racing is a unique sport. It combines physical and mental approach for hours at a time, and it's just an amazing sport, and I've been truly blessed to be able to do this for over 50 years. But I want to thank Mr. Bauer and the committee, first of all, for all the hard work they've done. And I need to thank Kathy, one, for putting my name up there so I could get inducted, and two, for all her support, especially when I traveled so much. I spent a lot of time going around the country, sailing or coaching, and Kathy was nice enough to be so supportive and encourage me to do so. I appreciate it. Thank you. And it's just truly an honor to be in a company with all the other people that are being here and all the people that have been already inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I just wanted to say, with sailing, when I was younger, I played a lot of sports, football, baseball, basketball, golf, tennis. And when I started competitive racing a boat, something just clicked, and I knew that's what I needed to do. So I need to thank my parents for allowing me that. And before I was even driving, I was being transported to all around the country to attend different events for competitive racing. So I've been lucky enough to do this for, like I said, for over 50 years. And it's just, I'm beside myself to be able to stand up here and talk to all of you. And to be able to do pre-Olympic events and world championships and help design sales and just travel all around the country. It's an amazing thing that happened, and I'm truly blessed to be able to do that. So I thank everyone for that. I really hope everyone has a good evening and enjoys themselves. I made a little deal with Angie because she has a little bit longer speech than I do. So I'm going to stop talking now and let everybody enjoy themselves. But anyway, again, thank you so much. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mr. Bauer. And I'm glad again that I'm be able to stand up here with all of you. Thanks again.
Congratulations. Tonight's second inductee in the regular category is Angie Chet Caffarel from Lorain Catholic, 1995. How many tickets did your cheering section buy, Angie? Angie Chet was an exceptional scholar athlete. She excelled and lettered for 3 years in both basketball and volleyball, while at the same time was also on the conference's all-academic team. Angie had a majestic career playing volleyball at LC. She was named All-District and All-County all 3 of her playing years with the Lady Spartans. The Lorain Catholic team that Angie led during her senior year was extraordinarily special. They finished 26-1 and finished second in the state of Ohio. It was the first Lorain County volleyball team to be in the state championship game, and that team has since been inducted into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. But on the basketball floor is where Angie received the highest recognition. She was a 4-year letter winner and made All-Ohio in 3 of those years. She was the leading scorer and rebounder on the team also for those 3 years. And her senior year was absolutely sparkling. She was All-Ohio second team, Northeast District Player of the Year, and Lorain County's MVP. Following that incredible high school career, Angie went on to play for John Carroll University. And when her playing days ended, Angie has now given back by getting into the coaching ranks, first at her alma mater at Lorain Catholic High School, and then at Vermillion High School. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Angie Chet Caffarel into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Good evening, and congratulations to all the inductees. My name is Meredith Bingham, and I had the pleasure of being Angie's teammate throughout our high school volleyball career. It all started our freshman year with the vision of making it to the state tournament, and we accomplished that our senior year, being the first in school's history. We celebrated our team's success in 2012 when our 1994 Lorain Catholic High School volleyball team was inducted into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. Tonight, it's time to celebrate Angie. She was a tremendous leader and exceptional teammate on our amazing state run. Angie always put her team first, sacrificing individual success for the team's success. She was a leader on and off the court. Angie, it is an honor to congratulate you on your well-deserved induction into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Hi, Angie. I want to congratulate you on your induction into the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame. It's been an honor to be able to work with you the past years at Vermilion High School. I truly know the dedication, the desire, the passion, and love that you have, not only for your family and friends, but for the students and athletes that you've had over the years. And that passion and all those other attributes, I truly believe, are just part of what have enabled you to gain induction into the Hall of Fame. God bless you, and on behalf of the Vermilion schools, all the staff, the students, your athletes, the administration, the athletic department, we congratulate you, and God bless you, and we wish you all the best in the future. Congrats.
So that's why you came today, Phil, huh? He's hiding in the back. Thank you very much to the Hall of Fame Committee for this honor. I am truly humbled to be included in this terrific induction class, as well as all of those who have been inducted already. I want to thank Mr. German, who showed up at Vermilion prior to me leaving for a basketball game to tell me that I was inducted. Honestly, Mr. German and I worked together on a lot of things at Vermilion, and I thought he was coming to give me a talking to about something I forgot to do. So I'm very grateful I dodged that bullet at least that time. I am now lucky to be a sailor and would like to thank Ralph Mayer, Mike Colatrulio, Bruce Keller, and to Jen Bangle for telling me to apply so that I could join the Vermilion Sailor family. I'm honored to have been the head coach there, and I am also honored that Lorain Catholic had so many traditions that were able to follow me. And even to this day, after 18 years, many of the traditions are still some things that we do at all of our programs. It makes me proud. Thank you, Jason Sokol, Doug Mahalik, our current varsity coaches, and our current athletic director, Andy Stillman, for giving me the opportunity to come back to coaching this last 3 years with the Sailors. I've been very blessed to have a number of truly wonderful coaches who have made an everlasting impression on me. From my high school coaches, Ken Pogachar, Kathy McConnell, Ann Moore, Jim McCall, Nick Molnar, Zen Chawansky from junior high, and even Mike Whitmore, Ray Mariner, who I worked with and allowed me to play with their junior high teams when I was in high school, and Larry Reardon for allowing me to play intramurals for his teams. Everything you all did to help me grow as a competitive student athlete is greatly appreciated. It wasn't just the required everyday things, but the above and beyond that I appreciate the most. I love the way Kathy McConnell, my volleyball coach, made every practice fun, yet kept us focused on what would become a special finale to our senior year, 26-0 heading into the state final. As a coach, I always look back to that state final game and how much you taught me to always keep your game face on and never give up. Mr. Ken Pogachar, my basketball coach, gave me the chance as a freshman to make an impact by encouraging me to work not only in practice, but to believe in the importance of off-season work and putting in the hours outside of practice sessions. It's common for me to repeat today to my players, now and even my own children, that I shot 100 shots in the driveway and probably drove my neighbors crazy. We appreciated the competition, but all of us truly enjoyed being together and competing at the highest levels. I remember being so nervous starting school at Lorain Catholic after having been at Masson School my entire life. Practicing for the volleyball tryouts for hours, I was excited to know that I was going to make the JV team, and later prepping the same for basketball and being shocked that I was named to the varsity program. After a successful sophomore year, I could not wait for the summer to be over so that we could be back in the gym. I never even thought it was possible for setbacks at the time. I tore my ACL mid-volleyball season junior year. I don't really know if there was any rehab, I don't remember, but I couldn't wait for the brace to be ready so that 4 weeks later I could compete on the sectional floor. After a great basketball season and now looking forward to training for a senior year, I could remember I was diagnosed with the blood disorder ITP, whose treatments resulted in me gaining close to 100 pounds, intermediate vision problems, back pain, and sleepless nights. This all happened just weeks prior to our senior year. I don't think many outside the teams really knew what was going on, but everyone was so very supportive. I appreciated my teammates for visiting me in the hospital and staying with me, keeping me involved in everything that was going on back in the gym. My teammates, both on the volleyball and basketball teams, were some of my best friends. Without them, I would not have been the player I was at the time. I cannot thank them all enough for all they did. Regardless of what I missed, everyone helped me focus on getting better and being the best student athlete I could be. Kathy, thank you for having the faith in me to work hard, to be smart, and to play the way you needed me to play. That faith in me as a player and giving me the chance to prove myself meant the world to me. Mr. Pogachar, thank you for still expecting me to condition, work hard, run fast even though I couldn't, push myself no matter what. You taught me through your expectations that I should never let people get in my head and prove them wrong by working harder than the next person. With the help and support of my coaches and teammates, and of course my family, I was still given the opportunity to move on and play at John Carroll, where I was able to learn and contribute to the success of the Blue Streaks. Unfortunately, my freshman year was cut short. After believing the treatments had worked, I was again told that I would be hospitalized and surgery was scheduled to remove my spleen. I am so blessed that with the work ethic that was instilled in me and from my family and my coaches, that I was able to continue the next 3 years with the Blue Streaks. I'd like to thank Mr. James Lawhead and Mr. James Francis for being supportive athletic directors and administrators through the different athletic careers at Lorain Catholic. I am so grateful to Lorain Catholic for giving a 23-year-old, the youngest coach at the time to be hired, the chance to run a program and compete. Although if I am honest, every time I was called to Mr. Lawhead's office, I was still a tad bit terrified. I want to thank my aunts, uncles, and cousins for always supporting everything I did and still do. I love hearing that my younger cousins remember being dragged to the tournament games and even traveling to Dayton for our state tournament. I want to thank my immediate family so much for all they have done for me. As a parent now juggling work, coaching, high school and CYO practices, softball games, volleyball games, 4 different schedules, basketball, and still yet trying to stay normal, I cannot believe how my mother and father made it all work. I truly understand now the amazing sacrifices that they made to allow my sister Alicia and I to do what we wanted to do. I thank you for driving for hours to volleyball tournaments, for me to attend basketball camps, and simply organizing everything. Mom, how you made it look easy is beyond my comprehension. I am struggling now and the girls aren't even out of grade school. Thank you for being the voice in my head still. You always held it together and showed us how much fun there was to be had. Alicia, thank you for being my favorite teammate, really my forever pepper partner and rebounder, and one of my biggest fans, my most valiant defender, and of course the greatest auntie there is. No matter how many times we would go at it on the courts or argue like sisters do, you know that you always had my back and I had yours. I am so blessed to have had the opportunity to play with you and share that state floor. Thank you. To the guy in the top row in the Hawaiian shirt, yelling and whistling at the top of his lungs, the man who told me when there was free time, you go practice because there's always someone better. On Christmas, he would even shovel the driveway so that I could shoot in the free time. While conditioning and prepping for John Carroll, that guy, my father, Big Bob, would drive behind me in his Bronco because I would run at night. And if the lights got brighter, I knew I better run faster. Dad, I have no words. I love you. We all miss you. And thank you. Many of you here, if you knew a little about him, would understand that my friends Ross and Jay would call him the Chet Grenade. Whether I played or coached, there was always that slow, steady burn and the loud, terrifying, deep voice that would come from the stands, most likely yelling at me, but unfortunately sometimes at the refs. No one could ever question the commitment and love my parents put into all my sister and I did. To my husband, Chris, thank you for helping me work through the crazy schedules and giving me the opportunity now to coach again and spend so much time in the gym with volleyball and basketball. Thank you for allowing me to vent, bounce ideas off you, and especially for proofreading everything. And trust me, he proofread this. Girls, Cassie and Kara, thank you for allowing me to drive you crazy and coach the two of you. Even though having mom as your coach can be exhausting sometimes, I hope that I'm able to show you what athletics has meant to me and how it has helped me grow into the person I am, and how those experiences have shaped your future, how those experiences can help shape your future. You are truly my greatest accomplishment. As a teacher and coach and working for our athletic office now, I am blessed to have had student athletes ask me to walk them across the field or court on senior night. I am blessed that I have had students and athletes give me their time to help impress upon other players younger than them how important it is to be a good leader and a positive influence. I am blessed to have learned so much from my coaches and teammates around me. I know that I did not have the typical high school experience, but every step helped shape me. As I finally stop talking, I feel it's important to share probably one of my favorite memories, that it would be that I would stand here someday. I used to work at the Lorraine Party Center through high school and college, and worked probably more than half a dozen of these events. And we had to hide in the kitchen until all the people finally stopped talking, but we would peek through the door and watch from behind the bar and listen. And I remember being in awe of some of those inducted, hoping one day I might be able to come close to being as good. I must say I still do not feel worthy, and they will probably always be on those pedestals they've always been on. But if there's only one person back in Mr. German's kitchen that wonders if even through everything they've been through, if they can accomplish what they want, I hope that they know if I can do it, so can they. Again, thank you to all of you who specifically came out tonight to be with me, and thank you to the Hall of Fame for this wonderful honor. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Fantastic job, Angie. Congratulations again. So we now move on to our third inductee tonight from Lorain High, class of 1982, Vince Villanucci. Vince is reminiscent of some of the other all-time great sports legends from the great city of Lorain. He acknowledges that the toughness and the grittiness of the great city led to a lot of his success. Vince gravitated to and specialized in the physical sports. He was a mainstay on the wrestling and football teams at Lorain High School. His success in football led to some of the highest awards a Lorain athlete could receive: the Golden Helmet and Lombardi Award, proving that he was the best all-around player, not only in Lorain, but in Lorain County. Vince also qualified for the state wrestling tournament twice, and he placed third in the state in his senior year. Being only 185 pounds and a linebacker led some big-time Division I college programs to think he may be too small to play for them, but not Bowling Green. They recognized Vince's dedication, recruited him, and he started all 4 years as a Falcon and led them to 2 conference championships and 2 bowl game victories. After graduation, Vince played 1 year for Green Bay in the NFL. When his playing days finished, Vince moved on to coaching. He had a very successful career, not only in football, but also Vince coached wrestling and track. And he reached the pinnacle in the coaching profession when he was named Coach of the Year in Arizona. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome Vince Villanucci into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Check the videos.
Vince, hey, congratulations, my friend. Being inducted into this Hall of Fame is a nice honor for you. I remember me and you playing CYO basketball back at Old St. Mary's Gym when we were kids. We ended up being teammates at Lorain High, wrestling teammates, football teammates. It was a great time. The one story that I want to give, and I hope you remember and you laugh, is us up at Sandusky our senior year, and us getting into the pool when we shouldn't have been in the pool. If you remember, we were told specifically, do not go into the pool.
Well, they locked the door. Locking the door to a Lorain kid is just a challenge. We got in, we're having a ball, we're swimming, and remember, most of us were butt naked, or at least in a jock strap. The best thing was getting out of there after I got off the diving board and the security cop came in to bust us. He never caught us, and we ended up getting away with murder. T. King probably won't even remember even hearing about it, but it was fun. My friend, I'm happy to have you in this class and to be in the Hall of Fame alongside of me. Have a good time.
One more. Hey, Coach, do you remember Vince Villanucci?
Vince Villanucci. How could anybody ever forget Vince Villanucci? 1982. Great player all the way around. I can remember that year we didn't have a kicker, a field goal kicker. And I went up to Vince and I challenged him. I said, Vince, we have to have a kicker. And you're the best athlete we got out here, therefore you're the kicker. And I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll challenge you every single day for a Sweet Valley. Kids would just kill for Sweet Valley. And it was a pop that we got, and if you did something real good in practice, you got a Sweet Valley. Well, me and Vince, we had a personal challenge every single day. Before practice, him and I were kicking field goals. After practice, him and I were kicking field goals. And then all of a sudden, we're getting ready to play a game. And, you know, it's going pretty good, you know. He kicked a few extra points, as I remember. And then all of a sudden, we're playing Admiral King. Our daggone arch rival, Admiral King. We hated Admiral King almost as much as we hate Illyria. But Vince, he was there, he was a guard, he was hitting and blocking, and all of a sudden the coaches come up and said, Coach, it's 0-0. At the half, it's 0-0. At the end of the third quarter, it's 0-0. At the end of the game, right towards the end, this was the very end of the game, it's 0-0, and the coaches said, are we going to kick? I says, well, yes, we're going to kick. What do you think we've been doing all this time for? And I said, Vince, get in the game. Vince goes in, and all of a sudden, the snap was good. The hold was good. The kick was, it had the distance. It's going up in the air. It's good! It's good! Admiral King, 0. Lorraine High, 3. We beat him on Vince's field goal. And we give him a Sweet Valley at the end of the game.
Thank you. Well, all my success comes from great parenting, and I had two of the greatest parents you could have. Thanks, Mom and Dad. And I know I had some special people that pushed me to get in the Hall of Fame. Ron Feldkamp, Tom Bauer, Terry King, Jeff King, no relation, and Barb McConaughey, and my friend, teammate Gary Huff. And just wanted to thank them. And now I got all my time I spend with my fishing buddies over there. And we enjoy our time, and I got my neighbors over there, Frank and Debbie. And I really love Lorraine, and I came back to Lorraine after being out in Arizona for a number of years. And my it's funny how my athletic playing career started, because I was 9 years old playing basketball at CYO for St. Mary's. Our neighborhood was a tight neighborhood, and I was friends with the Trout family, and down the street was Zintarski's, and Scott Zintarski was one of my good friends, and his dad was the coach, Steve Zintarski. So they talked me into going out for basketball. Well, little do you know, I was not the best basketball player, but there was a few things when I played basketball. First rule was, do not pass me the ball, okay? And second was, I'm going to get rebounds, nobody's going to make a layup, and I was strong enough to throw the ball all the way down the court, I almost said field, all the way down the court to one of my teammates that could make a layup. So then that was how I fell in love with playing sports. And then after that, you know, you had the junior high thing and then high school, and I really enjoyed Lorain High. Some of the teachers and coaches are still Mr. King and Mr. Bauer and Mr. Provident. They spent a lot of time with us at Lorain High making us successful, and that really means a lot to me, because then when I started coaching, I spent a lot of time with my athletes. And I tell you, Lorain High, it made you tough. That was a good, hard-nosed school. The teachers, just the mentality there and everything, you had to be tough. And I'm going to tell a story about the PE classes. And this is a true story. We used to play this game called dodgeball. Okay, this was back in the late 70s, early 80s. It was more like dodgeball. It taught you learning, life-saving skills. Back then, they had these little rubber balls. You could throw about 100 miles an hour, and you had this certain PE teacher, I will not say his name, but his initials are TK. He used to yell, "No boundaries," after about a minute, and you could actually just pummel your buddy, hit him as hard as you can, and get away with it. And if you didn't hit him hard enough, you could actually hit him again, because you didn't hit him hard enough the first time. And we had so much fun at Lorain High, and I'll get in my playing career in a minute, but Coach King, I got voted a lot of things at Lorain High my senior year, but the best athlete in the school was Terry King. We played basketball together, he wrestled, football, everything. That man could do any sport. It was amazing. And in my senior year, I lived down in the gym, and I was an aide, for the PE department. I helped out this and that, and they had a badminton unit. And I'm thinking, there's Terry. Villanucci, you want to play badminton? I'm like, badminton? What's badminton? Sure, I'll play. I go ahead, coach. I knew a little bit about the rules and that. So here he is. He serves the ball, or the birdie, and I tap it back, and all of a sudden, there's Coach King. He hits that thing. It had to have been 100 and some miles an hour. Hit me right in the chest. It left a welt, a bruise, and everything on me, and I was like in shock. I was, a senior at Lorain High, and finally, about the end of the badminton tournament, and I'm running down the hall, I'm all happy, and everyone's going, "Villanucci, did you beat Coach King? Did you beat?" I go, "No, I didn't, but I scored 1 point." I'm not kidding you. We would play. I'd say, "What's the score, Coach?" He goes, 20-0. Game point. And he always beat me, but one day I scored 1 point on him, and I was so happy. And the kicking thing with Coach King was so true. You missed a couple little parts there. I used to do 10 kickoffs, okay? Coach King would stand in the end zone, catch every one of my kicks, no warm-up, nothing, and throw the ball 70 yards back to me, and I'd put the ball down and kick it again. And then we would have our kicking contest. It was 50-yard field goals. Once again, no warm-up. He had his remember them little black coaching shoes? That's all he had on. And he would make darn near every field goal, and I'd, of course, make every other one and be happy. And But boy, we spent a lot of time together, and I really appreciate that, because that's what I did when I was a coach. I'd spent a lot of time with my players and that. And I think during wrestling, though, we had some of the funnest times a player, coaches could have. Our road trips, we just enjoyed ourselves. Gary Huff, he was the heavyweight, and I was next to Huff, and we just, you know, we had some rough matches back then, but Coach always knew that me and Huff would come through and get us some points there at the end, and we really did. And we worked together, and we had a lot of fun. And then, you know, of course, after high school, I went on. I played football at Bowling Green, and I didn't understand at first why. I saw, you know, depth charts on everything, you know, in college, depth chart here, depth chart there, and I walk in there and I look on there and I see my name. I was on the kickoff team. I said, I didn't even do nothing yet. And one of the coaches whispered in my ear, he goes, "Aren't you the one that played dodgeball at Lorraine High and survived?" I said, "Yes, I did." He goes, "That's why you're on kickoff, son." I'm serious. You go home after dodgeball, and Mom here, she'd say, "Vincent, how was school today?" "Mom, I'm ready for the real world." She's like, "Why is that, son?" I said, "'Cause I survived dodgeball." No, we had so much fun at Lorraine High. It was amazing. And the neighborhood we grew up on Allison Avenue, Barb McConaughey for 28 years. She's been a wonderful neighbor and everything. And now my other neighbor now is Mr. Feldkamp, and we have fun working on puzzles and just chit-chatting about the old times and stuff. But I got to tell you a funny story about Barb. All the years she's lived there, she's been so nice, and she was one of the first ones to tell me, "Congratulations. I got inducted into the Hall of Fame." And so, you know, everybody has a fence, you know, so she's leaning over the fence, and she goes, "Hey, Vince," she goes, "congratulations for getting into the Hall of Fame." And I said, "Oh, thanks, Barb." You know, she goes, "You've been working on your speech." And I said, "Yeah, a little bit. I'm working on it." She goes, "Well, let me tell you something right now." She goes, "It's 6 minutes and don't go over." I said, 6 minutes? Okay. I said, "Well, Jeff King and Mr. Feldkamp didn't say nothing about that." She goes, "I don't care. Mr. Feldkamp cusses too much and Jeff's a nice guy, but I don't care. 6 minutes." So I said, "Okay, 6 minutes it is, all right." And but we had a great neighborhood, and just the Lorraine High, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. And even moving on to college, I had a good career at Bowling Green. I ended up starting, you know, every year, not every game when I was a freshman, but I started a lot of games. And one of my highlights was I was 18 years old, and we were playing North Carolina at North Carolina on ESPN, and I was starting middle linebacker. And I led the team in tackles. I had 18 tackles that game as a true freshman playing against North Carolina. I thought that was, you know, a very good accomplishment for only being 18 years old and a true freshman. And then in high school, Coach King brought up that I was a kicker, and I really liked kicking. You know, it was amazing. Everyone remembered me playing middle linebacker, and I played right guard, and Gary Huff played right tackle, and we seriously, when we came off the ball, we made some serious holes, and we were good teammates, but I really enjoyed kicking. And I think Mr. Provident might remember that 3-0 score against Admiral King, and
We won the next 6.
I graduated. I didn't care. No. And then Elyria, last game of the season. The ball was on the 29-yard right hash, pouring down rain. Lorraine, we decided we were going to kick a field goal. I'm like, great, okay? Last game of the season, so it was a 46-yard field goal, and the snap was okay, and Johnny Mullins, our quarterback, was a holder, and it was raining out, and, you know, it was rain, mud. We loved it back then, and Johnny kind of missed the tee a little bit and put the ball on the side, and I just kicked it as hard as I could. It was a line drive 46-yard field goal. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was the school record. You know, the linebacker, offensive lineman, I had the school record, and then about 10 years later, I was at the Lorraine High game, and one of the kids broke the record, but I did have the high school record for the field goal, and I thought that was something. But I ended up being all conference in defense and offense and got a lot of awards, but I really had a lot of fun kicking because it was a challenge to me, doing something that I wasn't really that good at, but I ended up being decent at it. But anyways, I just want to thank everybody. This is just a beautiful evening, and the memories will be just over and over again, and the same old stories we tell over and over again. They get better. The older I get, the stories get better, you know. But they're still good stories, and a lot of people that knew me, they say, Villanucci, you know, the stories you tell, they're all true, because, you know, you were a tough guy, and I always wanted to be a tough guy, and we got that from coaches at Lorain High, to be a tough guy all the time, just not once in a while, all the time. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Great. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My notes here.
No, you're all good. You're all good. Great job, Vince. Again, congratulations. Well, I don't know. He describes himself as a tough guy. Football, wrestler, yet he got battered and bruised by a badminton birdie. How does that define a tough guy? That's what I want to know. If it's coming off the racket of Terry King, yeah, you can get battered and bruised. All right, next in the regular category, Mary Lou Redman Poli from Lorraine Catholic, 1977. Mary Lou being recognized tonight for bowling, but bowling was not Mary Lou's only sport. She also lettered 3 years in both basketball and softball at Lorraine Catholic and competed in swimming for local clubs. But it is bowling where she excelled. Following in her family's footsteps, she started her bowling career at the age of 6. Like most young competitive bowlers, she started in the junior bowling leagues. What set her apart in 1975, she had bowled the highest game in Ohio, and in 1976, Mary Lou had the highest average in the entire state. Mary Lou participated with success in the women's professional bowling tournament circuit. She's also been inducted into the Lorain Women's Bowling Association Hall of Fame, and Mary Lou can now be found at Vermillion High School coaching the bowling team. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mary Lou Redman Poli into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Congratulations, Mary Lou, on behalf of the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame and the Lorain Bowling Association, which I'm a past president, and a current member of the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. We want to congratulate you in your induction in the 2021 class. Your bowling prowess has made us to be extremely proud of your induction. Again, enjoy your induction tonight.
All right, I don't want to read the last person's notes, but I'll start with my own. Good evening, and thank you for coming out tonight to support this Lorain Sports Hall of Fame, the other inductees here tonight. Congratulations. Congratulations to them, and I'm really happy to be a part of this class with them, and I really find this an honor. Thank you. Thanks to committee member Tom Bauer, who puts up with a lot from me during the year. You guys don't know it, but I do the jackets and the shirts for him, and he's always after me. Thank you, Tom. Special thanks to, of course, Mr. Bill Bremke, who always has us bowlers in mind. Also, a very special thanks to my sister Patty for the nomination, and everybody in the bowling world knows that Patty taught me everything that I know. You know, my parents, Dominic and Mary Redman, they started our family's bowling center on Broadway. The address was 1040 Broadway in Lorain, Ohio, in the year of 1946. They had 8 lanes upstairs and 4 lanes downstairs at the time. So I once asked my mom, I said, how did you know that bowling was the right thing for you and my dad to do? And if anyone knows my mother, she did really tell me this story. She said, one day my dad came home from the bowling alley and needed to have a nap before going back to close up. So he laid down, he took a nap, and while he was napping, she goes through the room and she sees his leg sticking out from the blankets. She went right to her cosmetic case, got her reddest lipstick, and drew 2 red rings around his ankles, which in turn made his white calves look like a bowling pin. She said that convinced her. She knew she was in the right business. So my brothers, Rick, Rob, and I'm sure they're not here tonight because guess what? We're still running our business and the bowling season has just started. My brothers Rick, Rob, my sister Patty Bellman, who's here tonight, we all grew up in the bowling business and we knew nothing else. We all went to college, we all graduated, we came back to the family business, and we've been working together ever since. Because of my parents' vision, their business sense, and the support of the Lorain citizens and the surrounding communities, proudly, we are celebrating 75 years in the bowling business this 2021 season. As you know, the most important people in your life support and love you all along the way. For me, it's my husband, Robert Poli. Bob and I have been married for 36 years. But I'm going to let you in on a little secret about Bob, and this cannot leave this room at all because of the bowling business. Bob would rather be golfing than bowling. Can't say that too much, right? I would be remiss if I didn't thank the coaching I had growing up. In bowling, it was very sparse, you know, back in the day. They are our iconic names in the bowling world. The iconic names of Baldo Campana, Louis Artidello Sr., Tony Pompey, Tony Taloni, Ray Garcia, and in high school, it was Helen Babbicks. I would like to end with a quote from my dad's acceptance speech to this Lorain Sports Hall of Fame 26 years ago in 1995. He said, "Believe in your city, make Lorain a better place to live with sound attitudes and faith in people." I think this statement rings still true today. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Congratulations. So we now move on to our 5th inductee, Barry Rush from Lorain High School 1981, being honored for his accomplishments in both football and track. Now Barry had a special skill set as an athlete, both speed and strength. Now the speed was especially noted in his overall track performance. His success in the 100 meters earned him all Buckeye Conference first team, and he set the then Lorain County 100-meter dash with a blistering time of 10.8. At one time, he led the 400-meter relay team in setting the Lorain High record. but his speed was also very instrumental on the football gridiron. Awards given in his senior year were First Team Lorain County, Northwest District First Team, Buckeye Conference's Back of the Year, and All-Ohio Special Mention. Barry's strength played the biggest part of Lorain High's success in those years' bench press lift-a-thons. He set a Lorain County record in the lifting pounds to beat cancer event with an unbelievable lift of 188.5 pounds over his body weight. After graduation, Barry went on to Illinois Valley Community College, where he helped them become number 3 in the nation in the National Junior College Athletic Association. Unfortunately, Barry could not be here with us tonight, but I've been told it probably wasn't because of Coach Terry King and his tobacco chew. But Barry Rush is honored tonight, so ladies and gentlemen, we welcome to the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame from Lorain High, class of 1981, Barry Rush. There will be a video.
Okay, Barry Rush, 1981, senior, running back. Lorain High versus Admiral King, our arch rival. That day, first half, do you remember, Barry, where you went out and you fumbled twice in the first half? Devastating. And put Admiral King up. And all of a sudden, at halftime, we come in the game. In the halftime. And all the coaches are talking. They give their last little spiel before we go outside. And Coach says, King, do you have anything to say about? And I go and I got up and I was so upset, Barry, about fumbling twice because you were the person that I coached. And all of a sudden I said, hold out your hands, Barry. And you held out your hands like this. And I come up and I had a big chew of tobacco in my mouth. And I spit on both of your hands. And I dared you, I defied you to wipe that off. In the second half, you went out and you rushed for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I'll tell you, that was the winner of the game. Thank you, Barry. You did a great job.
Hey, Barry. Welcome to the class 2020 Hall of Fame for Lorain City Schools. Hey, teammate of yours, very proud of you. But there's one story that I will always remember, and that was the Admiral King game, your senior year, where you single-handedly brought us back to win the game. But the funny part about that was the halftime show with you and T. King. I remember walking into halftime after you fumbled twice, and you were down and depressed and kind of whining about it, and we were losing 14-0. And we walk into the locker room, and T. King comes in, and he is steaming. He is so mad, and before we can even have a meeting, he grabs you by the hand and spits that tobacco juice and chew all in one and rubs your hands together and made you promise not to wipe them off. You go on the second half to rush for 100 yards and score 3 touchdowns for us to win the game 21-14. Best game of my life. I played with you, and we had a ball, son. Thank you, and congratulations on coming into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, T. King, you gotta be kidding me. How did you never do color commentary with me on high school football? The stories you could have told. Oh my goodness, I tell you, buddy, you gotta just spit some juice in their hands. He won't fumble anymore. That might be one of the funniest stories I've ever heard. When was he allowed to, like, wash it off? Like, oh, that's classic.
Didn't mention that everyone threw up at halftime.
I would have thrown up too. All right. The last inductee in our regular category tonight, from Admiral King, 1992, Lisa Nikoloff Lindberg. Yes, yes. Lisa's first sports season at Admiral King was on the volleyball team. She proved to be very good on the volleyball court. She was a 3-year letter winner and earned first team All-County her senior year. She was good enough to be offered scholarships by many teams, including Division I at Kentucky. But basketball was Lisa's first love, and she accepted an offer from Mount Union in Ohio. Her high school Division I basketball awards followed a very impressive 3-year career. First team All-Lorain County, All-Conference first team, and honorable mention All-Ohio. At Mount Union, she impressed her coaches so much with her skills and her work ethic that Lisa started every single game during her collegiate career, a total of 115 consecutive contests. Lisa was a prime reason Mount Union did as well as they did during her 4-year career. The 94-95 team compiled a record of 24-6 and advanced to the NCAA Final Four. The following year, the team made it all the way to the championship game, where they finished second in the nation out of 384 teams in Division III. In her senior year, Lisa averaged a double-double, 10.5 points and 12 rebounds per game. And Lisa now coaches middle school volleyball and basketball. And during that illustrious coaching career, she has compiled a 226 wins and 24 losses record. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lisa Nikoloff Lindberg into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Hi, Lisa. Congratulations on reaching a major life milestone in your athletic career. This is a well-deserved tribute being recognized by the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. It's also a privilege for me to be here as one of the few father-daughter inductees into the Hall of Fame since the origination in 1969. This is your moment in the sun. May today's success be the beginning of tomorrow's new achievements. There were times I pushed you plenty hard physically and mentally, and you somehow found a way to take the toughness of a Bobby Knight and still be a loving leader to your now student athletes. Mom and I were always 100% sure you would be a winner, and you didn't let us down. You still have the fire in your heart and the determination to get the job done. Mediocrity is not in your vocabulary. All signs of a true champion. This is a wonderful time, and the best is yet to come. You will forever be a champion to Mom and I, family, friends, teammates, and fellow inductees. Congratulations.
Okay, Lisa, congratulations. It's my pleasure to be able to welcome you into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. You were a very solid 4-year starter, great leader, great player, etc. We had a lot of good post players over the years, starting with Venus Sutton, Cheryl Bancik, Marjan Jackson, Brandy Bennett, Jamie King, and people that way, and you certainly fit right into that great category of player, especially being the smallest of that particular group. Remember is your all-around game. You defended, you rebounded, you didn't take bad shots, shot a high percentage, and just was an all-around pleasure to coach and to be around. I think had our guard play been a little stronger during those years, those point totals would have been a little bit higher. But you certainly were a solid member for those 4 years, and it was a great pleasure to coach you, and I congratulate you on your induction, and I'm not going to take up a whole lot more time. So, see ya.
I'm glad my dad didn't chew tobacco, that's for sure.
Thank you so much. What an honor it is to be included in this group of inductees. When Mr. Driscoll and Mr. Bauer called me last year to let me know I would be a part of this, I was filled with so many thoughts and emotions, pride, joy, memories flooding my mind, and then fear. I had to give a speech. So I called my much older brother, he's much older, Tommy, and I told him what was happening. I said, wow, what an honor to be part of the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. But what do I say? Who do I thank? Dad was inducted in 1989, Uncle Len, great Uncle KJ Costco, and great Uncle Matt Yursich. You know, what am I gonna say? I don't wanna embarrass myself. You gotta help me here. He talks like this, Lise, calm down, just calm down. Don't worry about it, you've got it. You go up there, you thank me, you're all good. Call it a day. I said, okay, well, can you explain why my athletic accomplishments, why I should thank you? He said, of course. So he said, remember when we were kids, we went to play at Central Park every single day. We lived right across the street from Central Park on Highland Park. I said, yeah, I remember. I was one of the only girls in the neighborhood at the time, and so I was with you and all your buddies. And he said, that's right. And who picked you first when we played baseball? I said, well, you did. And who picked you first when we were playing basketball? I said, well, you did. And he said, and what big brother picked his little sister first when we played football? I said, well, once again, that would be you. And then he reminded me how we won pretty much every game that we played. He said, there you go. I built up your confidence, picked you every time, taught you how to be a winner. You thank me. So I kind of paused for a second because I couldn't disagree with him. And finally I said, well, I thought you picked me for baseball because I hit home runs every time I got up to bat, and basketball because I got every rebound and no one could take the ball from me. And then in football, we had that special play where you were the quarterback, you gave me the ball and just ran next to me, and I ran the entire field to the end zone with 4 little boys on my back because I outweighed them by about 40 pounds and stood about 3 inches taller. He said, don't get caught up in the details, Lise. He said, stick with the script. You go up, you thank me. It's all good. You'll be set. So thank you, Tommy. Thank you, big brother. I can't give him all the credit, but he was right. And he always had my back, and he still does. So that's where my love for sports all began, at Central Park in Lorain, Ohio, when we were kids. My mom realized quickly that I wasn't going to be a petite little flower and play dress up and dolls. I had the athletic ability of my dad and a shy personality. I needed something to get me moving and to stop accidentally beating up the neighborhood boys. Either that or the boys went and talked to my mom, maybe, I don't know. So she started signing me up for whatever sport she could find. I played soccer and softball for the city of Lorain. Mr. Ted Driscoll, I think, is on the board. He was one of my first softball coaches. Then it was on to basketball at St. Mary's and volleyball, basketball, and track at St. Peter's. Admiral King came next, where I focused on playing varsity volleyball for Coach Pat McGill and 3 years of varsity basketball for Coach Bieber, as we saw. It should have been 4 years, but he might have made that mistake when I was a freshman. So it's okay, Coach Bieber. And then lastly, 4 years for Coach Deanna Canablo at Mount Union for the lady, and I was a Lady Raider. We were predicted to fall somewhere in the middle of the OAC conference my senior year, that 95-96 season. But Andrea, she's here right now, we decided that was not going to happen. We went into that season and we won our first tournament. I think it was against Allegheny, and then we lost like 5 out of 7 games. And we looked at each other and we said, this isn't going to happen. So we went to the national championship, and we remain the only women's team in the history of Mount Union to make it to the national championship. So thank you, Susie and Andrea, for being here tonight and making so many memories that we'll never forget. My love for sport continues today in Austin, Texas, where I currently coach middle school, volleyball, basketball, youth tennis, and various camps. Being a part of a team will always be in my blood, and the thrill of being a competitor will last forever. Thank you to the Lorraine Hall of Fame Committee for keeping such an amazing tradition going for so many years, and including me tonight. To all of my coaches, teammates, coworkers, and players, I've learned so much from you and continue to grow every day from my experiences with you. There are a few tables of family and friends here tonight. Your dedication and devotion does not go unnoticed. Thank you to my husband, David, who is currently working in Africa, and my beautiful girls, Lexi and Carly, back in Austin, Texas. You always support me in my coaching endeavors and love me unconditionally. Last but not least, the two best coaches, fans and mentors and parents that a girl could have. Tom and Carol Nikoloff, who have been married for about 51 years, almost 51 years. You always believed in me and still do. You both showed me how to work hard and go for what I want in life. But most importantly, you gave me your time. So if I could be half the parents that you were to me, then I'm truly blessed, and you two are the Hall of Famers. Thank you.
Congratulations. It's never easy to get back on the microphone after tears have been flowing. You make my job that much more challenging, but it's very moving. And I said at the beginning of the night that there would be a lot of laughs and a lot of clapping and cheering, but also some tears. It's emotional. You know, it's a rare occurrence in the Hall of Fame for a father to get inducted and later his child achieves that same award. It is very rare for a father-daughter combo. But tonight we have Lisa and her father, Tom Nikoloff, a 1989 inductee, and earlier in the program, Mary Lou Poli and her father, Dominic Redman, a 1995 inductee. They are now all members of the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations. So we now move on to the senior category. Our next two inductees will come from the senior category. Now, the senior category is available for any nominee 65 years or older. Previous names for this category have been pre-1950 and the old timers. I like senior category a lot better than old timers, I'll tell you that. And our first inductee tonight, when I read the notes, and as you read the bio, this is an absolutely incredible athlete. From Clearview High School, 1973, track and football, Otis Jenkins in the senior category. Otis was a three-sport all-star for the Clearview Clippers. He was a starting point guard on the basketball team both his junior and senior year. But it was in football and track that Otis really made people take notice. In football, Otis led a very talented Clearview team to a 9-1 record and a second in the state finish in the very first state championship game. For his effort, he earned first team All-State and Class A Back of the Year. Track is unique in that there are team results and also individual results. For 2 years, Otis and Clearview were very impressive in both of those categories. 1972, the team was second in the state, and Otis earned 3 gold medals in the 100, the 220, and the 880 relay. 1973, Clearview was crowned state champions in track, and Otis again won the 100 and the 220, and also placed second in the long jump. And what made that year extra special was the team championship, or that team championship, was the first for a Lorain County team since 1939. And Otis Jenkins, 5 state first place finishes, places him as the greatest male track star in all of Lorain County, a record that still has not been broken. Amazing. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Otis Jenkins into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame in the senior category.
Otis, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on being inducted into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. It's quite an honor, and you're well deserving, and it's a long time overdue. Congratulations, Otis. I stop and think about you in terms of your ability, your athletic capabilities, and a lot of people don't realize this, but you were not only all-state in football, but you were all-state in track too. And by the way, you were a pretty darn good basketball player. You were all-state in track in multiple events. We won the state track meet because of you and with you. You were a tremendous sprinter, won the 100, won the 220, was on the state 880 relay team, and also you were a long jumper and did a good job at that. Anytime we needed points, I could always ask you to go over there and jump a couple times, and you scored, and you could have been probably an all-state long jumper as well. And I don't think there's ever been a time when your name doesn't come up as one of the great all-time athletes at Clearview. You deserve this, and this is your day, and congratulations. And I'm really impressed with the way you've become involved in your church, and I understand you've become quite dedicated to that, and that tells me what kind of person you really are. Congratulations, Otis.
I'd like to congratulate Otis on being inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame. I'm surprised it took this long. He belonged there quite a while ago, but he was one of the most outstanding all-around athletes that the school ever had. He was a typical Clearview athlete. He came out and he tried everything, and he was multi-talented. He was just super good at everything. Didn't matter whether it was football, basketball, track, or what. He could do it, and he could do it well. It was a pleasure for me as a teacher and a coach and everything to coach him and mentor him in some ways. And he was a fun person to be around. As talented as he had no airs about him and everything. Didn't take anything too serious, and he was concerned with winning and everything like that, but it wasn't a life and death matter. It was something that he felt very strong about, and that as long as he had anything to do with it, he was going to make sure that whatever he did, he gave his best. And he was an unbelievable athlete.
Thank you. I said I wasn't going to tell this, but I guess I can't keep it to myself. Somebody asked me, what is it that made you so fast and do what you did? And I told them it was the Coyote and the Road Runner. Y'all remember that, don't you? The Coyote and the Road Runner. Because it upset me the way the Coyote was trying to catch the Road Runner and he couldn't catch him. So growing up, I made up in my mind to come to be fast and do the Coyote a favor. And that's how I ended up out running, and I got fast like that. You know what I'm saying? And so I ended up faster than I thought I was going to be, because my mom used to make me run up to the store at night by myself, and she was telling me, I want you to be up there and be back in 5 minutes before your dad get off work. And back in those days, they had a thing called a switch. And my mom knew how to use that switch. So that's how I end up starting y'all to really be fast. But you know, I thank everybody. You know, I'm a minister and I saw 5 minutes, so I said I was going to put my sermon back in my pocket, and I'll say that for Sunday morning. Because I can be long-winded as a pastor. But I thank the Hall of Fame for inducting me in. But I have to thank those two gentlemen that were just on that screen. If it wasn't for Mr. Walsh and Mr. Ross being my coaches, and I can never forget that day when Mr. Walsh, I was in the 8th grade, and he came down the hall, and if you see him over there, he's that tall, and I'm this tall. But I never forget that day he came down that hall and came up to me and he looked at me and he said, "What's your problem? You're a good athlete. You should be out for sports." I said, "Well, if this little guy can holler at me like that, I guess I can go out for sports then." And that's how my sports career started, through those two gentlemen there. But also, it started from my mom. My mom, she's 88 years old now. Thank God she's still alive. I wanted her to be here, but her legs and all bothers her. But she told me, she said, "Son, you go head on and accept that tonight." And she said, "I'm proud of you." And I thank my mom for that. And I also have to recognize my wife right there. That's my wife that got me where I'm at. And I want to thank all of those that came. And I'm nervous, but I'm all right. And I thank God for seal tests when I went up to Lawson's and got milk. And I thank God for Roll On Big O, get that juice up in Lawson's in 48 hours. I'm in that senior class, so I have not forgot all of that there. And you got to know one thing, though. When I got into my junior year, whether you all know it or not, we didn't have artificial turf then. We had what you call cinder tracks. Cinder was made mainly out of asphalt and coal, and that's what we ran track on. That's what I ran track on. Man, if I could run track on some of what they got now, I'd probably run a 7.2. Yeah, and you got to remember this. When I coming into my junior and senior year, we was just coming out of gym shoes that we call May Pop. When you put them on, they may pop at any time. we was coming out of that. We didn't have Nikes and we didn't have all of those shoes. We was just basically coming out of Converse and Chuck Taylors. And I remember Mr. Walsh when I think it was Pro Kids or something. But anyway, we got some of them, and I remember running down the basketball court, and them things were so good, they were, oh boy, y'all in trouble now. Yeah, but those days was back then. You know, the athletes today, they got it made. You know what I'm saying? And and I've been asked this question, why didn't you how come you was not in the NFL as good as you was in sports? I hurt my knee when I went to the University of Louisville, and I thought that my running career would be over with. I thought that. But I never did get back into the athletic field, and I never got a call from the NFL, y'all. So I felt that my running career was over with. But I stopped by to tell y'all something. I got another call, and that was from God. And a lot of folks might wonder, Are you still running? Yes, I'm still running. But I'm just running for God right now. Amen. Amen. That's what I'm doing now. I'm running for God. I'm running for God. I'm running for God. I'm running for God. And it's been a beautiful run. So I accept this with all grace and honor. I really do. I really do. And I got some grandchildren that's coming along, so hopefully it won't be long. You'll hear of another Otis Jenkins out there on the track field again. All right. God bless you, and take care. Yeah, I got to take a picture with this beautiful man.
You know, thank you, too. You do a great job, sir. I should tell that story about when you made that phone call, because I'm Otis. Congrats.
Thank you, Otis.
Thank you.
That was just terrific. You didn't seem too nervous to me. You said you were nervous. You seemed quite comfortable. Now, you asked me to go deliver a sermon on a Sunday. My knees would be knocking, I'll tell you that. But, no, you seem great. And I have to tell you, I've known Bob Walsh a long time. Yeah. He's not a man that rains praise down on people. So to hear Bob Walsh talk about you like that, that makes you extraordinary. Absolutely incredibly special. So that was a great story. Although, Bob, I have to admit, this is the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame banquet. You're wearing an Illyria sweatshirt. Yeah, I say, I've called it right down the line all those years, but I don't know who your wardrobe person was, but, Bob, Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame. I love Coach Walsh. Love him. My first year doing play-by-play in Lorain County, he took Oberlin to the state championship. I thought, man, this is what it's like. I'm going to have a great time doing this. Just a special, special man. Yep, no doubt. So let's move on to our second senior inductee from Admiral King, 1964 class, Chris Gregg. Now, offensive and defensive linemen usually don't receive a lot of recognition with record-setting performances, but any football fan knows linemen are the backbone of any great football team. And Chris earned those rewards by his steady line play, especially on the defensive side of the football. As a junior, he played on the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame inducted 1962 Admiral King team. But it was his senior year that he projected into one of the top linemen in the state of Ohio. He was selected all Buckeye Conference first team offense and defensive lineman, and he was also all Ohio first team defense. And as a unique and rarely seen award for a Lorraine player, he was selected as a prep All-American by Coach and Athlete magazine. Chris was also a 3-year letter winner on the track team as a shot and discus thrower. After his playing career, he continued to give back to the sport he loved by coaching football at Lorain Catholic High School. Unfortunately, Chris Gregg could not be here with us tonight, but he has written an acceptance, and that will be delivered by dinner chairman Tom Bauer. So we'll hear the acceptance of Chris Gregg from Tom.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Tomaszewski, and I'm here tonight to introduce Chris Gregg, a very deserving member to be inducted into the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame. Chris and I were on the same first two Admiral King football teams way back when, and Chris was just an outstanding player. There's no doubt about it. He was a technician. He knew exactly what he wanted to do and how to do it, and everybody loved the guy, except during practice, because if you had to practice against him, you were in trouble. If you didn't work real hard on every play, you'd find yourself laying on your back and Coach Tony Misko standing over you saying, "Hey, what's going on? What are you doing?" And for that reason, Chris deserves to be in the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame. So here he is, our buddy Chris Gregg.
Frank Graziano, former member of the Sports Hall of Fame. First of all, I want to congratulate Chris Gregg, a fine young man. When I had Chris as a trainee, I never had anyone who worked harder was more respectful, more diligent. I used to have him do the farmer's carry, which is a weight in each hand, around my house. We started with 50 pounds, and he worked up to like 75. When he came in, he was mediocre strong. When he lifted, he was like a Superman. Fine young man, very talented, willing to do anything I told him. He would have to run from South Lorraine to my gym on 19th Street, work out, and then run back. He never ever would miss a workout, and he was always very, very polite. When he left, he was one of the strongest kids I had ever trained, and a gentleman on top. Again, congratulations, Chris, you deserve it. And now I found out he's quite a talented artist. Congratulations on your work of art. Keep up the good work.
I got a call from Chris a month ago. He said he just couldn't make this banquet. So I asked him, could we get someone here to talk about him? He said no, but he will write an acceptance speech. And I told him I'd be honored to read it for him. I'm a little bit out of my element reading someone else's speech, but I'm going to try. First, I'd like to say I'm humbled to be inducted into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. To be associated with such great athletes from Lorraine is an honor indeed. I need to thank my sponsor and my friend of 61 years and a two-time inductee into the Hall of Fame, Dave Billick, the dedicated Lorain Sports Hall of Fame committee, my past coaches, and the people that enabled me to coach football after my playing days. John Glorioso made it possible for me to start coaching CYO. Rocky Hammond made it possible for me to coach freshman football at Lorain Catholic. Jim Lawhead, who welcomed me to be a part of the Lorain Catholic coaching team. Dave Snell, who honored me to be a varsity line coach and defensive coordinator. The early 60s was an incredible time to live in Lorain and experience sports. A new high school was being built. The fuel that would enable King Sports to excel was based upon Lorain's West Side and South Lorain athletes. I was from South Lorain, an area that bred street toughness, working out in a cloud of smoke from the steel mills. St. John's CYO football, Whittier Warrior football, you had to be tough or you didn't make it. My buddies and I would practice every night after school non-stop year-round at whatever sport was in season, but mostly football. When King opened, we were ready. Football tryouts resulted in over 100 attempting to make the team. All those from South Lorain that I can remember never were cut. Life was good. We worked hard, and we got a good share of wins. I am blessed and honored that I was be able to contribute to those wins and learn from the losses. It made me a better coach, father, and person. I regret that I am unable to attend this honored induction ceremony. I also want to heartfully thank the reader of this acceptance speech with the utmost respect, Chris J. Gregg. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So we now move on to the special category. Our next two inductees come to us with similar backgrounds. They were excellent athletes in multiple sports at the high school level, and then they continued on with successful collegiate careers. Then they furthered their achievements with coaching college teams at the highest level. Our first inductee in the special category from Lorain High School, 1975, Karen Boyle, being recognized for track and cross country as well as coaching. Now, Karen in girls varsity sports arrived at Lorain High School at the same time. She was a participant in the very first softball, gymnastic, and track teams, while she also lettered in volleyball and basketball. It was at track that she truly excelled. She was one of the first local female athletes to break the 60-second mark in the 440 dash. The crowning achievement in her athletic high school career occurred when she was awarded the Madeline Manning Jackson Award. And the award was designed to honor the very top female athlete in all of Lorain County. Karen participated in 2 NCAA Division I sports at Bowling Green, track and lacrosse. After graduation, Karen made her decision to make a lifetime commitment to sports by entering the college coaching ranks. First at Heidelberg for 3 years, where she developed several All-Americans. Then she was hired to teach and coach the midshipmen of the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. She coached cross-country and track at the Academy for 32 years. Besides her very successful coaching career at the Academy, she has also achieved acclaim by coaching the USA teams both in Europe as well as in Asia. With her outstanding leadership ability, she has been selected to serve on many nationwide committees, setting standards for the Division I coaching and certification curriculum. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Karen Boyle into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame.
Hi, Boyle. Bauer here. Congratulations on your induction to the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. You certainly deserve it. In fact, during high school, from late 71 to early 75, you spent so much time playing sports for me alone, I sometimes felt the need to put you in my will. Back then, I realized I had no coaching experience whatsoever, but I wanted to introduce girls varsity sports to Lorain City Schools along with the bowling program that we already established. I figured my best bet was to recruit some kids that were athletic, competitive, smart, and fun. Then I was going to talk to some coaches. I was going to read some books on sports and stay one page ahead of any situation that might arise. And we were going to learn together. And so we did. Karen, I thank God you were one of those kids. It was like having 4 all-stars, 1 each in softball, track, gymnastics, and bowling. You exceeded in so many areas that it made me look like I knew what I was doing. The Madeline Manning Jackson Award for the best female athlete in Lorain County and the Boosters Club female MVP in track were 2 of the first accolades that were bestowed upon you during your illustrious journey. So let's quit talking about your beginnings and let them get on with the good stuff. I'm proud of you, Boyle. I love you a lot. You're 1 in a million, bare feet and all.
The Naval Academy's standard mission is to develop students morally, mentally, and physically. Few have done more over the last 32 years to accomplish that goal than Karen Boyle. Boyle, a winner of 87% of her meets as Navy's cross-country coach, retired at the end of this past season. She will stay at the Naval Academy, though, and continue to help that physical mission as a member of the faculty in the Physical Education Department in the Physiology Lab. Leaving behind a legacy, though, on the grass, guiding Navy's women's cross-country team since 1987 when the Mids competed in the NCAA Division II ranks, Boyle wrapped up her 32nd season this past fall. As part of her final campaign, Navy defeated Army in the squad's annual Star Meet by a score of 24-31. That success was nothing new to Boyle and her teams, as Navy went 21-11 versus Army during her tenure and finished in the top 3 in the Patriot League Championship in 12 of 16 years. In addition to her work with the cross-country program, Boyle was leading member of Navy's track and field program with a focus on distance athletes. Congratulations and happy retirement to Karen Boyle, and a thank you and appreciation to her 32 years of dedication to the United States Naval Academy.
Karen was honestly a legend. Like, with regards to the program, she cared so much more about the athletes with regards to their points. She cared about each individual, whether they were scoring or not, about their individual goals. I think some of the best moments I've had were honestly the times I wasn't even scoring. but she cared so much about how I was doing.
I'm pretty confident that I could speak for most of my teammates when I say that Coach Karen has been one of the most influential pieces of our leadership development here at the Naval Academy. And I know that it excites her so much to be able to see us grow along our way here and know that whatever we are here, we might become something greater along the road.
Over Karen's past 3 decades, she's just been such a great mentor and icon for all her student athletes. She's a big fitness guru herself, so she embellishes just having discipline in life, the positivity, the joy of movement, and instilling that competitive nature. So the fact that she's instilled that in hundreds, literally probably 800 or more athletes over her span of career is just something to be incredibly proud of.
So without further ado, I did make a deal I would only talk for 2 minutes, so I'll try to make it fast. But honestly, I've been very fortunate in having a lot of really positive people in my life. This is probably going to make me choke up because there are some that really, really are dear to my heart, which, you know, starting out CYO sports, like a lot of people in here, and growing from that, I just love to move, you know, just love to compete, and it's never wavered. So it's been such a natural fit for me. You know, I just say I'm one of the luckiest people in the world because I picked the profession, the perfect profession for me. And it's not, I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like I'm having fun and I'm getting paid to do it. So, you know, it's such a great honor. And a lot of people who did really help me make this path. Number one, I'd have to say is my brother, because he was always kind of looking, I knew I would choke up, always looking after me, and we've always been best of friends. And second of all would be, we call her Ski, Nancy Bauer. She basically molded me into being someone beyond just a high school kid. And I never really even thought I'd go to college. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, and so she sat me down and said, hey, all we have to do is just, you know, fill out these grants sort of things. And so we did. I did end up going to Bowling Green State University as well, and competing in track as well as lacrosse. So just like Otis, you know, the girls on the lacrosse team knew I was really fast, so they're like, hey, we don't care if you can catch a ball. We just know that all you have to do is pick it up off the ground and just run and score. So I was pretty good at that. But, you know, along the way, it's always the special people that make us become who we are as a person, as a coach, and how we interact with other people. So Ski did that in many ways for me. I've always been very thankful, and actually to Tom as well. So, you know, like we said, we've done every sport together in high school. And when I went on to college, I really loved the lacrosse coach we had there. Was a guy who actually was a previous soccer coach. And Mickey Cochran is his name. And he taught me about the joy of sport. You know, just having a great time and enjoying every moment out there. And so I kind of looked at that too. Ski pushed us, you know, she wanted us to be really good, and she made sure that we worked hard so we were prepared. And the other coaches coming along the way, I have a bit of every one of them in me. So I always took that mantra of, we could be really good, but we can also have a lot of fun. And so that's always been, you know, my basic look at life is, and coaching these women. I mean, I'm the lucky person who gets to coach these women. So now I do a lot of individual counseling for, you know, like general midshipmen who aren't in an athletic or a varsity sport, who need to know how to work out, to compete, to get ready for. The second girl that spoke, she actually could have gone SEALs. She was one of the first women who passed the SEALs test. And explosive ordnance device. So EOD is what she actually chose for her billet. But I mean, the women that are out there and the people that we can actually touch is endless. And so, you know, even walking down the street, you know, like my adage has always been, you say hi, you know, to everyone. Yeah, it's not whether it's, you know, someone who you think is below you or above you, you say hi, you know, to everyone. And so it was kind of funny because the woman on there, Carla, who was talking, she and I have coached together for 30 years. So we can finish each other's sentences. You know, we're best of friends. We'll always be best of friends. And so, you know, when we'd go out for runs, wherever our meets were, you know, we'd always say, hey, you know. So, and I hope I don't offend anyone, but when we would go to Princeton, no one would ever say hi back. We're like, what's wrong with these people? And so it was just kind of a fun little thing. Oh, we're in Princeton, no one's going to say hi. But anyway, you know, I'm extremely lucky and I'm extremely honored that the entire committee, you know, had voted me through because I basically was a generalist. Like, I just love to play. So that has taken me into the career that I have now. And, you know, everybody's like, when are you going to retire? Because I'm starting my 36th year at the academy. And I'm like, you know, until it's not fun or until I can't contribute. So actually this year, I brought pickleball. So I don't know how many of you in this area are pickleball fans. I'm a pickleball fanatic. And so I actually have been able to encourage our administration to add it as a curriculum element for physical education. So, you know, anything we can add, anything we could do, I think is just our purpose on life. So, you know, I want to thank, I really didn't think there would be that many people that were here because I live in Maryland. I haven't really been in Lorraine that often, but my family, my brother, Kevin, his wife, Debbie, my sister-in-law, my niece, Rachel, her husband, Jordan, my cousin, Ginge, my best cuz, and my wife of 24 years, Patty Felt, who has just been a rock. And two friends that I haven't, well, I have seen Jennifer Koth. We played high school basketball together, as well as other sports. And she reminded me that, hey, do you remember when we were tennis champions? And I was like, no. But it was fun. Yes, it was fun. And then Kathy Buckosh as well. We played quite a few sports together. She was a big tennis person as well as basketball. And then Ski had actually invited me to play traveling softball with their team when I graduated from high school. And so they're here. So we have, you know, Mary DeVinance, we have Sandy Carty, Bev Sayer, Rosie Nowak. And so I was just really thrilled, you know, that you're all here. And it's just a wonderful experience. And I thank the board, the committee, and yeah, it's just a great time. So thank you so much. Enjoy life.
Thank you, Karen. Although Joe Bach informs me that all sorts of folks from Princeton are now dialed in on our worldwide broadcast. You need to report to Princeton right away. Our last individual inductee is also from the special category tonight, from the 1970 class from Lorain Catholic High School, William Reagan. Now, William was an outstanding quarterback at St. Mary's in Lorain, and then upon the closing of that school, he moved over to Lorain Catholic. He lettered in basketball and track, but it was in football that he made his mark. He attended St. Joseph College in Indiana after graduation, and he set many career passing records as the starting quarterback for the Pumas. In 2005, he was inducted into the St. Joseph College Hall of Fame. After his college graduation, he gave back to the sport of football by his dedication to coaching, starting in the high school ranks and then moving on to St. Joseph, first as defensive coordinator, and then he was the head coach for 11 years. He then spent 6 years as the offensive coordinator at Ashland University before joining the staff at the University of Notre Dame in 2001 as the director of football operations. He has since served on the quarterback coaching staffs at the University of Michigan, Youngstown State, and Miami University. William founded Top Gun Quarterback Training School in 2003, and he still is training elite quarterbacks all over the country. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome William Reagan into the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame.
Hello, Bill. Congratulations. This is where it all started pretty much. Congratulations on your induction in the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame this year. It's been a long time coming. You're very deserving and glad to have you as part of the group. Bless you.
I would like to send a congratulations out to Bill Reagan for being inducted into the Lorraine City Hall of Fame. Of course, I was in the Hall of Fame 4 to 5 years ago. I want to thank him. He was my coach at Ashland University, a great leader of men, and a great motivator. Congratulations, Bill. Job well done.
Hey, Bill. Congratulations on your induction. I'm Lee Powell from Avon, quarterbacks coach. Got our guys working at your Top Gun camp. You do an awesome job. Heard a lot of great things about you, and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. Congratulations to all of our inductees tonight. We are the first, I believe, 2-year induction class, so something to be celebrated. I understand and I know that we're supposed to keep our talks to 5 minutes, but a good friend of mine who is on the Hall of Fame committee who wanted to remain anonymous, right, Bill McPhee? You want to be anonymous, right? Anyway, Bill told me there's a little unwritten rule that for every year since your graduation from high school, you get 1 minute. So we just held our 50th anniversary from high school in the 51st year. So I'm glad some of you were short and a couple guys weren't here tonight. Actually, that's not true, you know. I won't use that 51st minute. I'll just keep it here. Seriously, I'm very honored and humbled tonight. This is an honor I never, ever considered or thought that I would receive. Growing up, and as a young adult, to me, the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame was for those icons, those guys like Don Bonco, Dick Olson, Wells Gray, Billy Kishman, great performers like Bubbles Harris, Terry King, Ray Felton, Kurt Schumacher, Ron Wilczak, and Chris Kelly. Famous area coaches like Jim Lawhead, Bob Walsh, Mitch Gillum, and certainly our hearts go out to the family of one of our favorite Hall of Famers who passed away just 2 weeks ago, Mike Coughlin. These were the greats. These were our heroes. Not me. But then an interesting thing started to happen. My classmates and buddies from my team started to go in the Hall of Fame. First Mike Burke, then Bill McPhee. Larry Olowinski was inducted, a teammate of mine from St. Joseph's College. Then John Burke, the quarterback who I ended up replacing at St. Mary's, went in. And Donald Church, who you just saw on there, one of my running backs at Ashland University. So I started to think, you know, maybe there's a chance for me to be recognized. But then I discovered you had to do work. You had to take some initiative. And now I think my mother, God rest her soul, tried a long time ago. And I think Jim Lawhead could attest to that. I think she bugged him about me getting in the Hall of Fame. Well, many years went later, and then John Burke was the first one to take up my cause with the Hall of Fame. And Mike Burke is actually the one who did the work, brought it home, and that's why I'm here today. So I really want to thank those people. It wasn't just my mother. You know, she thought I was special. And I thought that's where the special category came from. Just when my mother thought I was special. Right, Miss Villanucci? You're special. So anyone with a career such as mine has a lot of people to thank. I want to recognize some of those folks tonight. Of course, there are the usual suspects. Coach Lawhead for basketball at St. Mary's and Lorraine Catholic. Coach Rose, same in football at St. Mary's and Lorraine Catholic. Bill Jennings, my football coach at St. Joseph's College, who later hired me as an assistant coach there, where I was able to become the head football coach. And of course, Kevin White, who was the athletic director and a great mentor for me while I was in athletics at Notre Dame. But I'd like to acknowledge and thank some others who played significant roles or a key part in my personal development. I keep this mostly to athletics since I can't really go the academic side of things here. But I do want to thank my late parents, Jim and Mickey Reagan. I was in awe of their love and respect for each other. And it was such a great example to my four brothers and I. And you know, the Reagans have been a part of the Lorraine in its history for over 130 years. My grandfather migrated to Lorraine in 1890 and started Reagan Marine Supply in 1905, which my father and his brother ran until early in 1980. So growing up, my dad, you know, he was busy with the business. And I want to thank my older brother, Jim, who's sitting out here tonight with Linda Matheson, and actually my brother Sean and his wife Karen are at the table back there too. But Jim is actually the one who introduced me to sports in the neighborhood. You know, he got me playing baseball with guys in the neighborhood and football, and we did a lot of fishing right behind our house. So besides the lake, though, prior to 6th grade, our version of youth sports took place at either Longfellow Park with 3-on-3 baseball, or right across that little park across the street from Century Park, because I notice has a path through it now. That's where we played our football with the Smith and Betletsky brothers. There was no youth sports other than that up until 6th grade. But in 6th grade, 3 guys, Terry Callahan, who's out here tonight, David Jenkins, and Jeff Novotny, classmates of mine, said, "Hey, you're going out for football, aren't you, in 6th grade?" I had no idea. Wasn't even sure we had a team at St. Anthony's. These guys got me to go out. So it was that peer pressure starting off. I want to thank Pat Kelly, who was our 8th grade football coach at St. Anthony's, for letting me make a daring move the first day of practice. He had me slated as a tight end, and when he said, "Quarterbacks, come out over here," for some reason, I went over there. And I thought I'd just give it a try, and he allowed me to do that. And I continued that for 11 more years, and then the better part of 25 years in coaching, it's been quarterbacks. And I want to, at this point, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all those coaches here in Ohio who have let me get on their high school fields and had sometimes insisted or fought for me to get on their high school fields. Across the state real quickly, Chardon's Mitch Hewitt, Toledo St. John's Larry McDaniel, and especially in these last 2 years when it's been really tough to get out and coach kids because of COVID, at Sandusky High School, Mike Franklin, and at Avon High School, Mike Elder. But I also want to go back to 8th grade and thank my first quarterback coach who coached me, Steve Baxter, who I believe was on the 1957 St. Mary's team that went into the Hall of Fame. Steve gave me a great set of skills starting right off and made it kind of easy, at least with ball handling. I want to thank Bill Philbin, who as the head football coach at St. Mary's, when I was just a freshman, took me out and literally taught me how to run. He said, "You're trying to run like Frank Coughlin. His legs are this long. You have long legs. You need to learn how to use them." And taught me how to run, taught me how to use my legs. I want to thank Jim McCall for teaching me that you could take a ragtag group of individuals and still win with them and not have to scream and rant. And Jim came in with us at St. Mary's when we were freshmen. He was our freshman football coach, our basketball coach. He coached baseball in the spring. Obviously, he's a Hall of Fame coach here. But his calmness, I often thought back of as a coach. I want to thank Jeff Novotny, who was a classmate of mine, but we went separate high schools. He, Lorraine High, and me to St. Mary's. Going into our junior year, neither he or I were very secure in our quarterbacking position. And so he and I met religiously every day at 9 a.m. at Longfellow Park in the summer of '68 and just made up our own quarterback drills. And that taught me hard work and repetition can pay off. Never realized that if you really worked at something, you could get better at it. And so I thank Jeff for being there with me that summer. I want to thank my high school classmates and teammates. Many of them are sitting at the table out here tonight. These guys have taught me the power of laughter and the power of being connected. You know, I didn't necessarily really think about being connected until you go away. And these guys kept pulling me back. I want to especially thank those who have stayed anchored to Lorraine and have continued to welcome us out-of-towners. One person in particular, who was that anonymous guy at the beginning, has gone over the top to keep us connected through the years. So thank you, Billy. We are, however, a little smaller group now, and more in the passing this past year of Al Kirshner, Joe Arendt, and Milan Waskovich, teammates and classmates of ours. Then, you know, as you matriculate through life, the rest of it, you fall back on those lessons you learned growing up through your senior year of high school, and those lessons learned. Except, of course, for the guidance I continue to receive from the greatest teacher I've ever had, and she's sitting right here tonight. You have to understand that being one of 5 boys, I knew very little about women. So Liz had a major challenge on her hands with grooming me into being a husband and a father of our 3 kids, Courtney, Kevin, and Patrick. I could use my whole speech tonight, my whole time limit of 50 minutes, and talk about Liz. But I already know she's feeling awkward over there. But it's been fun for 46 years. And so let me just say, as only the Beach Boys can, God only knows what I'd be without you. So thank you. I'd like to close with a quote from Russian literature's The Brothers Karamazov. I know the guys at the table back there go, what? But Fyodor Dostoevsky's, I heard this quote once, and I thought it was so appropriate that I had it mounted on the wall of our locker room at St. Joseph's College the whole time I was there as the head football coach. So I'd like to read it to you guys tonight, and tell me if it doesn't pretty much sum up this evening. We will remember all of our lives, and even if we are occupied with more important things, even if we attain honor or fall into misfortune, still let us remember how good it once was here when we were all together, united by a good and kind feeling, which made us, for the time, perhaps better than we are. You must know that there is nothing higher and stronger and more wholesome and good for life in the future than some good memory. People talk to you a great deal about your education, but some good sacred memory is perhaps the best education. If a man carries many such memories with him into life, he is safe to the end of his days. I have to tell you, I feel safe tonight. My career has been a heck of a ride, and this feels really, really good. Thank you.
Well done, Bill. Liz, congratulations to you. You did a fantastic job. An interesting fact about tonight's inductees, the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame was designed to honor those individuals from the city of Lorraine who have achieved excellence. But 3 inductees that you just heard from not only were the best in the city of Lorraine the year of achievement, but were best in all of Lorain County. First was Karen Boyle, who was the Madeline Manning Jackson Awardee, best senior female athlete in all of Lorain County. Next, Vince Villanucci with his Lombardi Trophy and Golden Helmet for Lorain County's best football player. And last but certainly not least, Otis Jenkins, who has captured 5 first-place gold medals at the state track meet, a record that no other Lorain County male trackster has achieved. So congratulations to those folks, not only for their accomplishments in the city of Lorain, but at the county level and at the state level. Congratulations to all of you. So our last inductee tonight is from the team category, and it is the 1984 Admiral King boys tennis team. That team was coached by Hall of Fame enshrinee Frank Hicks, and they finished the regular season undefeated with a record of 18-0. Frank has had other undefeated teams, but he acknowledges this team was his best. They were ranked number 5 in the state of Ohio, and they finished the year, including postseason, with a total record of 21-1. Their only loss came at the hands of the best team in the state, Orange High School. The Admirals won several team titles that season: Buckeye Conference, Lorain County, and Lorain City Championship. The team advanced 2 singles and 2 doubles teams to the district tournament. Jim Gray made it to the state tournament and finished in the top 8. Both Gray and Adrian Harris completed the season undefeated. John Wong was 3rd singles. Frank Polito and Mike Spinelli were at first doubles and second double, or were first doubles, and the second doubles team was George Gonis and Dale Andorka. Matt James was a substitute player. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to let you know that some of these men have traveled a great distance tonight for their well-deserved honor. So please welcome the 1984 Admiral King High School tennis team into the Lorain Sports Hall of Fame. To speak for the team tonight is Hall of Fame coach Frank Hicks and team member Dale Andorka.
I'd like to start by saying thanks to the Hall of Fame committee for all their hard work this year, and especially John German for another fine meal. In the 1980s, there were over 40 tennis courts in the city of Lorain. Today, there are 4 at Lakeview Park, unplayable. Also in the 1980s, 3 high schools had winning teams: Larry Stark at Southview, Thurman Riddle at Lorain High, and myself at Admiral King. Each school had some people in Columbus just about every year. In fact, tennis was one of the winningest sports of all the high schools, even basketball. As I said, we were ranked 5th in the state. Jim Gray played at Purdue for 4 years as a club pro in northern West Florida. Adrian Harris was unable to attend. He had also a good basketball player. He's now an executive bank official in Philadelphia. John Wong is retired optometrist, and he says he's really retired. Frank Polito played at Eastern Michigan for 4 years, and presently is a coach at Cleveland State women's team. He also was assistant coach at University of Georgia, a top 10 program. Mike Spinelli is also went to ESP Eastern Michigan. He says he's doing as little as possible. Doubles with Dale Andorka, who is a co-sponsor of the nomination. He works at Fligner's Market in the banquet division. George Gonis now lives in New York State and retired as a lieutenant colonel from the Army. Matt James was unavailable to attend. Manager Lisa Dale kept the scorebook, called in the scores to the media, and kept a scrapbook for all the matches. In fact, she had a Master's of Library Science from Kent State University. It was her scrapbook that was turned in that had almost everything from the Plain Dealer, Journal, and Chronicle of every match we played that pretty much put these teams in the Hall of Fame. Thank you.
I think you've seen each of the players got a replica of the plaque that Hall of Fame coach Frank Hicks has. So thank you, gentlemen, for attending and bringing all your guests. Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the class of 2021. How about a great big round of applause for all of our individual inductees, special category, and of course the 1984 Admiral King boys tennis team. So before I turn things over to Jim Turton to wrap things up tonight, I just want to say once again thank you to everybody in attendance tonight, and of course thank you to the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame Committee for having me here tonight. You know, it was interesting when I heard Angie talk about the banquets previously at Lorraine Party Center, and Angie looking out of the kitchen and listening to those speeches, and it got me to thinking about those same events at Brett Schuster's place, and I'd be way in the back. There was a media table that they had, and I would watch and listen to Joe as he emceed the banquet. I thought, how does he do it? How does he do it? You know, he's so smooth and he's so entertaining, and boy, I don't know if I could ever do that. And I'm not saying that I do, but it seems like so much time has passed since those days, and yet the tradition of the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame goes on and on. And as you heard the athletes tonight and their stories, and you heard their unbelievable accomplishments, it goes to show you that rare is the athlete that does it all on his own or her own. It's a team effort. It's parents, it's coaches, it's friends, it's those who push them, and that's the beauty of high school sports. And as much as I now call basketball at a different level than I did for many, many years, I will always love high school sports, and I will always have a passion for high school sports, because I know from whence greatness comes, and it comes from the young men and the young women who perform on any sort of field, any sort of court, any sort of diamond, track and field, cinders, whatever it may be, but it develops them into great men and great women, and we saw that tonight. And I want to say one more thing. I don't know the history of the Lorraine Sports Hall of Fame, page by page, piece by piece, but I would imagine back in the early days, it was male-dominated as far as inductees and athletes and coaches, and I think it is just awesome that we have the female representation that we have here tonight and that we have had in the past few years as far as athletes and coaches, because women rock, and they do it in an unbelievable way. And I just think that athletics, as we have learned, isn't just for the guys. I mean, there's great male athletes here tonight as well, but there are unbelievable female athletes, female coaches, female role models. They're going to have a stronger and stronger impact on our society as we move forward. So congratulations to all the ladies that are here tonight and all the ladies that influence them as far as their career is concerned. So on that note, I would like to bring up the birthday boy. You know, they brought out the cake earlier, Jim. You blew out the candles and they took the cake away. I thought we were going to have some cake at the end of the night. But here's Jim Turton to close out this evening. And again, I want to thank you all for having me here this evening. Thank you so much.
Tim thanked everybody here, but I'm here to thank Tim. And I just want to tell one little story that I'm sure he doesn't even remember, because it was probably 15 years ago when Tim came to do Whittier football banquet. Now think about that. Tim is doing a banquet for Whittier football. And I didn't know how to introduce him to a group of 7th and 8th graders who had no idea who Tim Alcorn is. They have never been to a banquet before. So I said, this is the guy who's going to be the sports of the Cleveland Cavalier. They were in awe. Tim scolded me for even saying that, but it came true. And I was the prognosticator who predicted it. Congratulations, Tim. Here's Jim.
First of all, I'd like to thank Cliff and his staff for a wonderful event. You did a great job, and thank you and your staff. And I would like to, thank all you who attended for supporting us, and all the inductees. You made this event very successful, and I'd like to congratulate every one of you. All I want to do is make this nice and short and sweet. I want you all to stay safe, and want to remind you that next year our banquet will be on May 14th, 2022. Thank you. I'm sorry. We're going to have have Reverend Jenkins give us our final blessing, and have a good evening.
Let us bow our head in prayer. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come again, Lord, to thank you for what we have heard and what we have seen today. And we thank you for another golden opportunity that allowed us to be able to come together as a community of sports participants. So we thank you for that, and we give you grace, and we give you honor, and we give you praise. And then, Lord, I pray that we have traveling mercy, that everyone return home safe and still find their home a home of peace. Lord, we thank you for all you have done, and we thank you in advance for what you're still going to do. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen, and thank God.